So Keir Starmer's let slip that his plan for digital ID might even cover you accessing your own money and making payments with your own money. And I say let slip, I don't think it's really let slip. I don't think he's even making a secret of it. I think he just doesn't understand that people in the UK will not want to be restricted to access their own money and spend their own money unless they have a digital ID. Now, just to be clear, that's not what he's said. But that's where it will end up, because if you listen to this clip, courtesy of GB News here, I'll link it below, this very much sounds like the line that is going down. So allow me to play this very short clip. I promise you'll be short, but I need you to hear it for yourself, else you may not really believe me. I know you'll believe me, but while I'm playing this, do subscribe to the channel, get a load of this.
On digital ID, let me be really clear about it. Firstly, we have made a commitment to do whatever we can to stop people arriving illegally in the United Kingdom.
Now, I have to pause there. This is the line they're trotting out. They're doing what they can to stop people arriving illegally into the United Kingdom. That is not going to happen with a digital ID. I have to get that out. This is the one thing that I think he knows. I think they all know that this is a big sales point for anything if it helps to stop illegal migration, because that is a hot political topic. But it's not going to happen with digital ID. But I had to get that out. But anyway, let's listen on.
One of the issues is the ability people have to work illegally in our economy. We have to do something about that. We can't shirk that or duck that. We had a strong manifesto commitment to deal with it. I think the vast majority, if not everyone in the UK, wants it gripped. And we need to therefore take measures necessary to grip it.
I do agree with that, but it's not going to happen with digital ID, not by making everybody have one, because it's just not going to work. And unless it works across the board, it won't work. But that's not the bit I want to show you. I want you to listen on.
One of the things on digital ID that I do think we need to emphasise and make the case for, frankly, is the great benefits of digital ID. You can see from Estonia the speed with which people can access services that are available to them, which has been transformational, and there's great enthusiasm in Estonia for it. Here in India, I think it's 1 billion people have digital ID. It's been taken up on a voluntary basis in huge numbers. Not least because it means that you can access your own money, make payments so much more easily than is available with others.
So there it is. Is that the real reason? You can access your own money and make payments so much more quickly, easily, whatever he said, than you can with others. Is that the real plan? Is it to prevent you accessing your own money? We've already got DWP, as I'm reading, using AI to snoop on accounts where they believe that there's benefit payments that they need to recoup and such. Is this the real plan, that they want to use this digital ID to lock you out of your money and payments unless you've got one, or just to be able to spy essentially on your accounts and your money and your spending and what you're spending, where and with whom and so on, and thus get a literal blueprint of you as an individual for everything you're doing and everything you're spending, how much money you've got, all this kind of stuff? That's outrageous. Now, I'm going to address something that somebody did mention in the comments in one of the previous videos, in that when I was in China, I was talking about the way that they use digital ID there. Now, I got slated in that video for saying that people there do like digital ID and it works for them. But I think you'll all agree that the UK is not China and vice versa. And aside from the fact that that lifestyles and everything else are almost literally worlds apart, in some respects, China is decades ahead of the UK. I have to say, the train stations, the shopping centres, everything pretty much is decades ahead in China. And they do use digital ID, and it does work. But do I trust this country and this government and these systems to roll out digital ID for us? No, I don't. I don't think it will work. China has the infrastructure and the sheer scale and capacity and systems to do that it works for them. They've developed it over a long time before they rolled it out. But here, we've had so many things go wrong. You only have to think COVID, think about any national infrastructure project, HS2, whatever it is, any kind of project that happens here takes longer, costs more, doesn't do what it's supposed to do, and it just doesn't work in the way that we want it to work for the vast majority of things. Some things end up working, but there are so many things that have got so many problems with them, cost so much more, and many of them just end up being halted halfway through and having spent so much money on it. So I have very little faith. I'm very sorry to say, but I have very little faith in that being able to be rolled out here. I cannot stress how dangerous this could possibly be if we do end up with a single ID that links all information that pertains to you. Every bit of personal information that's available, collated together, linked back to you. And if you think about how much of your information is out there on other websites, on other databases, all of which could be gathered together and linked to your personal ID, that is a recipe for disaster for impersonation, data theft, identity theft, and people taking out loans and such in your name. And that is why I have to emphasize to you that you should use a company that I partner with on my channel here for this very purpose, because my aim was to protect you, and that is Incogni, who specialize in seeking out these websites that host your data, your personal information. It can be anything from your name, your date of birth, where you live, where you went to school, where you work, your children, even your grandchildren, what you shop for. All of these kind of things are stored on databases somewhere, and Incogni specializes in getting them to remove this data using UK and US law. You can even target specific websites if they are problematic and they just simply refuse to remove it, or you absolutely want to ensure that it's done, but you don't know how to do it properly. There are hundreds of them, if not thousands of these different websites, and Incogni will do all of the work for you. You get access to a dashboard and they will show you the progress of these data being removed from their systems. And you need to do it before digital ID kicks in. And as a partner to my channel here, I get you a great discount off the service, which is 60% off using the code BlackBelt at the link in the description below. And you can give them multiple email addresses and tell them which websites you want to remove your data from, and they will do all of the work for you. So check out Incogni with my discount code BlackBelt for 60% off today. And then if we want any sort of stark warning about what might happen, we only have to look at the latest news here, reporting on the hack of an age verification firm, the irony, of over 70,000 Discord users, which might include their name, their email addresses, other contact details, and government-issued ID. Now, if you're not familiar with Discord, it is essentially a chat and message forum. People chat on there, share things on there, they run servers on there, and there's lots of people on it, and they use it to discuss all sorts of things. So lots of companies have their own Discord server, and they have their official announcements, all this sort of stuff. So users sign up to those services, and for some of them, many of them, they've had to provide age verification for certain things, such as old games and so on. And they've had to use government-issued ID to get access to that. And this age verification firm has reportedly been hacked, and cybersecurity experts are now warning. I mean, you don't have to be a cybersecurity expert to warn about this, but cybersecurity experts are warning that these companies are now becoming a prime target for hackers, because they are now hosting, because they have to, tens upon tens of thousands, and it would be millions of government-issued ID. Now, bearing in mind the talk of digital ID in the UK would be farmed out to third-party providers to build the software, do the verification, and so on. And as I read, to get a digital ID, you'll need, you guessed it, a government-issued ID of sorts, so you can prove who you are. To get the ID that proves who you are, it sounds ridiculous as I'm saying it, but it will be companies that are set up to do that, and they might get hacked as well. Because I think this is not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because had you looked at this situation beforehand, you'd have probably said, well, that's unlikely to happen because this is an age verification company. That's just not likely to happen. But that's where we are now. Potentially, as reported, over 70,000 government ID may now have been stolen in this hack. And it says here, the photos that may have been taken were provided by users making age-related appeals to Discord's customer service in cases where they may have been locked out of old accounts and so on. And again, the other highlighted bit, the My Highlights. Cybersecurity experts warn that the risk of some providers of such checks, which require government ID, are becoming hacking targets. Recently, we discovered an incident where an unauthorized party compromised one of Discord's third-party customer service providers. They said in the unauthorized party then gained access to the information from a limited number of users, over 70,000, limited number of users who had contacted Discord through the customer support and or trust or safety teams. So if this is a limited number of people, and this is approximately 70,000 government IDs that have been exposed, imagine how many it would be if indeed we have a digital ID being verified by a third-party company and that itself gets hacked. So now, as to Keir Starmer's claim that digital ID is going to stop migrants, even the head of the Calais region said it won't. And this is from The Telegraph. Xavier Bertrand said that the UK government are hypocrites on the other side of the channel. Xavier Bertrand, head of the Calais region, has claimed that Starmer's digital ID card plan will not resolve illegal channel crossings. He also said that the one-in, one-out migrant swap scheme agreed between the UK and France risks exacerbating the small boats crisis by creating both illegal and legal ways to make the crossing. Keir Starmer announced the plans for mandatory ID last month. Everyone in Britain will be given a special code to prove their ID by the summer of 2029, and the cards will be initially used to prove the person's right to work in the UK. Then on Wednesday, it says that this plan was expanded so that it could be used to access tax records, whereas Mr. Bertrand said that the British tell us we're going to change things, we're going to tighten the regulations. I've been hearing that for 10 years. They say, but tomorrow we're going to ask for ID cards. Well, it's going to take a century just to get that in place. And in the meantime, it doesn't solve our problem. And what's happening? Nothing, because they're hypocrites on the other side of the channel. It says they have cheap labour that they can exploit. Asked to elaborate by The Telegraph, and he said the ID system won't be in place until 2029 at the earliest. And what do we do in the meantime? And I can probably tell you that I very much doubt that Labour will proceed beyond 2029, and if this is in place by 2029, it will be scrapped soon after. And if it isn't in place by then the progress of it will be stumped and halted before then in any event. All of this after the petition, with now 2.8 million people having signed to say that we do not want digital ID, although they're insisting on pressing forward with it. And I think this is a little bit tone deaf in that they are not listening to what people really, really want. But now, as I mentioned, DWP being told to snoop, to spy on bank accounts. This is that story again here from The Telegraph. Banks are reportedly being ordered to spy essentially on pensioners, on pension credit. It says banks will be required to monitor pensioners' bank accounts and share payment data with the government under the new fraud bill. Now, I think we can all agree that we want to erase fraud and wipe fraud out, but this is probably going to catch a lot of people who are innocent in all this, and there might well be mistakes that are made, and they might have draconian measures taken against them, even if they are not breaking any laws or any rules or any payments or anything else, because mistakes do happen. And they might erroneously believe that they've incorrectly received money or that they owe money. This says the accounts of all those receiving 3 benefits, including universal credit, pension credit, and employment support allowance, will be monitored for fraud and error under measures being proposed to claw back £9.6 billion by 2030. The new powers to be granted under the Public Authorities Fraud, Error and Recovery Bill, which is due back in the House of Lords this month, meaning it's already making its way through. The legislation will require banks to share information with DWP to identify incorrect benefit payments. And obviously then they will take measures to recover that money. And importantly, the banks are forbidden from telling customers because there are various rules against tipping off, and this would be one such rule. So banks are being required to report to DWP. HMRC is going to have controversial direct recovery powers, allowing them to pay what they deem to be underpaid tax so long as it's more than £1,000, and the banks are forbidden from telling their customers about it. All of which you might find controversial and objectionable, but that is what we need to consider when we consider digital ID. I think some countries might have got it right, but I don't have the confidence that we'll do the same here. But for now, my view is that I don't think this will happen anytime soon, because I think it's going to take a long time to get through into law, first of all, and probably even longer to actually implement it. So I think it's a long way off at best, but we need to stay alert to it. So with that, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.